We'll do it live.
And I think there's a snobbishness with reading books. They are a bit outdated. They're a little bit like playing the spoons and tap dancing and the theatre. They were good once, but things have moved on.
The head's not quite on the right place. That's his little issue that he's got to work on for the moment.
My apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Look, I'm all for innovation, and I advocated putting a scrum half in the line out. It sounds great, but it's bollocks idea, really.
Hello and welcome to Under the Sticks, a podcast brought to you by PRO14 Rugby, where we, as always, will attempt to deliver half-baked opinions served up as real, authoritative rugby analysis. Joining me to deliver lots of half-baked opinions, it is Mr. Paul Williams. How are you?
I'm very well. The hair's growing a little bit long. It's in that sort of early serial killer mode that I was in about June. So, you know, when you see a serial killer, they end up killing about 8, but I'm at about number 2 now. So it's just sort of flicking up, just starting to look unusual and a little bit murderous.
Okay. As long as you're isolating, we're all safe. Speaking of haircuts, Sean
Yes.
Holley, you've been shorn. How are you?
Yeah, all right. Let my eldest son loose on the curly mop. Actually,
Looks
feel a
like
little
cut
bit
by a burglar. Looks like someone broke in and cut that.
Williams recycling hair gag probably getting illegal. It is illegal. It is. But I feel a little bit like Samson because I'm normally over so much rugby. I'm normally microscopic, aren't I? But in the green room before the show started, now there's a few things that I've missed. How on earth have I missed? And I'm looking forward to getting stuck into the show tonight. The Hooded Claw.
Excellent. Hooded Claws here. This is me, Andy McGeady. Good to see some regulars in already. Rugby Mum Glasgow. Hello. Howell Davis, how are you? Michael Jenkinson, as always, from Pembrokeshire, West Wales. Julian Lyons, hello from the Algarve. Nice.
Hello.
Harley Worthy, how is Holly's online seminar? We'll come back to that, Sean. Maria O'Malley, will you show Munster versus Lobster live as a goodwill gesture?
Do you know what? That would be amazing. 23 Munster players against some overgrown lobsters. I'd love that. Okay.
Get your comments in during the show about lobsters or other seafood. We'll come back to them mostly towards the end, as we've been doing in previous weeks. But we got a few things to get through. We had one game, which all of Great Britain, Northern Ireland, and the South,
France,
or the Republic, however you want to talk about. We were all concentrating on this weekend. Glasgow and Edinburgh turned into something very, very exciting with a few things to talk about, including Razor Ross on his debut, the Hooter hoax, Hamish the hare. It's almost as if a former journalist was writing this. Home advantage. There are some odd home advantages carrying on for that Hooter thing. Scarlets Blues, Euro battle, because we've got extra rugby this weekend. We didn't know where we were going to be last week, and we were very upfront with you on that. But we have games. So Scarlets Blues, we'll talk about Zebre and Edinburgh. We'll talk about Connacht and Ospreys, and Munster Leinster, the game that had been postponed over the Christmas break. Will they go full metal jacket in an attempt to impress Ireland coach Andy Farrell before what will be, hopefully, an upcoming, quite quickly, Six Nations? But anyway, Sean, what was your online seminar?
Oh, I got invited. I have done it the last couple of years in person at Cardiff University. A former producer of BBC Scrum 5. I've worked on the Guinness PRO14. Joe Towns he now runs a sports broadcasting course. I get asked to go and deliver to the students, the MSc students, on all things analysis for TV, commentary, punditry, that sort of thing. So give them a few tips, a few insights, what I look for and how I prep my analysis. Actually used a little bit of Analyst Eye, which is something we've been doing with Guinness PRO14, which is really useful because about bespoke statistics and just imparting some experience to the students. It's great Q&A at the end. First time I've done it online because of the restrictions, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. The students were fantastic.
Nice.
Cool. Okay. Hard luck, all those students out there.
The collar, and I've had a busy day.
You looked
I
a
was
bit
wondering
neater.
about the sweater. I know. I was
Almost
thinking.
like
I was thinking, where's
photography teacher, didn't I?
he's got a bit of cotton on. He's got a button-down collar.
There's definitely a leather elbow patch somewhere off screen that we can't see. Not just that. Right, let's get to it. We had a game. The first one of these games this season, Glasgow Edinburgh, was not a classic. Something which I was tickled to read Cockers refer to in the lead up to this game. This game turned into something very exciting indeed, especially the second half. 23-22 to Glasgow. Edinburgh had a kick to, take the lead with a minute left. It was a good watch.
It was a really good watch. I really enjoyed it. Like you say, the first one wasn't great. The second one more than made up for it. I thought Ross Thomson was fantastic at 10. He played really well. Watson scored a beautiful. Well, he didn't actually finish it, but the break through the middle was absolutely gorgeous at the middle of the lineup. Really enjoyed that. There was some really good scrummaging on show, particularly from Glasgow on the tight end. That was fantastic. But like you say, it was all stolen by the train, which was, it's unbelievable. I couldn't quite believe what was going on. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic game. Train was man of the match.
Right, we're going straight into this. No kissing. Adam, roll the clip, please.
Taken by Aroni Sow and Dilmata. Knocked it backwards. Nick Groom will just fire that out, but Ali Price sets up the clearance.
There we go. So that's the train.
Taken by Aroni Sow and Dilmata. Knocked it backwards. Nick
It's so good.
3 times.
It's so good.
That out, but I think Nick Groom hasn't had a look at the clock. He thought that was over the 40 minutes, surely. That's bizarre.
The train. Obviously, the train was a Warriors or Edinburgh fan and sounded the horn, and I think that's confused Nick Groom.
Can you imagine that if that was a final?
He takes it like an absolute champion, I have to say. He knows exactly what's happened. Someone's told him. He's taking it like a champion. But it's good. That's a nice little an unknown home advantage. Sorry, let's describe for anyone listening back who hasn't seen that. What happens is it's very close to the end of the first half, and a box kick goes up from Glasgow, and there is a sound that involves a hooter. But we do not have hooters ending time in the Guinness PRO14. But Nick Groom has probably played in games that have from the stuff in the clear days. And the autopilot kicked in, and it gets even better because he just starts running straight towards the try line and then hoots it into the stands. It's fantastic.
Yeah, the rugby scribbler comes up with a brilliant. That's Rob, rugby scribbler. He comes up with a brilliant point there. The screams of "What are you doing?" in the background.
What are you doing?
Can you imagine being a second row, right? Imagine being Edinburgh second row. You look back, you see a scrum half jinking, sidestepping no one, heading backwards, and then hacking it into touch in his own 22.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? And you can see him just look up at the clock, and he's thinking that something's wrong. Either that wasn't a hooter, that clock's wrong. I can't decide. It's going off. Put it off. Put it off.
He's committed. He's gone full Forrest Gump towards his own try line, and you know what? He's committed. But I will say, Glasgow fans, I wouldn't get too cocky around Edinburgh handling the end of a half badly.
No.
We'll get to that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, it was a good game. We went through a couple of things there, Paul. You referenced Sean. We'll pull up some highlights here now soon. But before we get to that, here we go. So, game highlights here coming up. You can talk us through here with coach's hat on.
Yeah, well, as you said, there were lots of good. There's lots of endeavour, and this is what the derbies bring out. They can be turgid affairs sometimes, but even in the previous game that Paul said he didn't enjoy, I think I said on the pod there was some physicality in it. Anyway, this is what was really impressive: was Ross Thomson stepping in at 10. You could look at his face. You can't help but think he looked really comfortable in this shirt at this level. And when you think of the kicking that Glasgow and Danny Wilson have had at 10, Adam Hastings deciding to leave. the controversial missed conversion against the Dragons. Poor old that's Brandon Thomson, isn't it? But, you know, this kid's come in. And it was a nip and tuck game. You know, it went down to the wire. I think Edinburgh were leading at half time. I started to do I'm doing a team of the week now for us for Guinness PRO14. Obviously, it was only one game, and I asked Adam, "Do you want me to do a team of the week?"
50-50 split.
You know, in my industry, I started sort of listing the guys that played well, and this was the sort of killer blow, because Glasgow are down to 14 men here with the yellow card. Look at the time on the clock, 37. But then, you know, this kid, he just chips away. He goes about his business. I wouldn't say he's overly flash, but he's got a good head. He's, you know, an oldish head on young shoulders. Looks like he deserves to be there. This is what I know Danny works on. It's this sort of third set piece area. You know, they're patient in here, they're organized. And I think a lot more teams are starting to coach this, and they get their just desserts, you know. And I think crucially the timing with the yellow card coming back after half time and then taking the lead, I think it gave Glasgow a little bit of confidence, because Edinburgh then got a yellow card and they sort of started to build on it. This is Danny all over again. You know, it's scoring from these opportunities. And I think he's going back to basics a little bit. Where were Glasgow when they started to become a really good side? They had good athletic forwards. They had a good set piece under Jonathan Humphreys. And then they added the gold dust around everywhere else. Of course, talking of gold dust, you got something like Hamish Watson. Look at the gas on the guy. And he had the presence of mind. He probably could have made it, but had the presence of mind to put his centre in. I thought it was a real good nip and tuck affair, and so much so, to go back to my sort of team of the week, I had 5 Glasgow guys and 5 Edinburgh guys, you know. So it was that close, really. I felt sorry for young Ollie, the guy that came on. He's missed Ronnie, so I thought the commentators were polite on him. You know, how do you stop a Ronnie? So, well, that's what your job is. And he's going to learn a hell of a lot there. But, you know, if we ever saw that from behind, he's got to chop him low and take him down, and Ronnie So doesn't get there then. And I thought he was going to kick this. You'd expect him to kick it, and doesn't get it. So maybe that's one back for the missed one against the Dragons. It's that. So just for your interest, I had the Glasgow players who I thought played really well were Hugh Jones at 15. He won that 15 battle for me. Interestingly, he's coming through. Ross Thompson at 10. Aki Steely at loose head, because WP&L came on. I thought, he's in trouble here. And he was late in because Ollie Kebble was late out. He was good. Xander Ferguson and his brother Matt Ferguson. Look, he was brilliant, Matt Ferguson at 8. But also Billy Matter was at 8. Lots of carries, lots of tackles. Hamish Watson, we've mentioned. Ronnie So, Mark Bennett playing against his old club at 13 I had. And then the last one was Jamie Hodgson. Good industry in the second row for Edinburgh. And somebody who never gets mentioned.
Yeah, do you know, I love watching Ronnie So. I know he doesn't play that much, but you never know quite what he's going to do. He flew out of the line once in one defensive shot. He came out about 25 metres just going on an incredible hit. Missed it, and they went about 40 metres up the field. But, you know, he carries big and he tackles big.
Sorry, I'm managing a studio invasion here by a 2.5-year-old. So if you're hearing anything in the background, this has been splendidly navigating via the medium of WhatsApp between myself and my wife. Thank you, Rebs. Sorry, going back there was a couple of key points in that game that really stood out for me, that went from it's a reasonably good game of rugby to this is on, was those 2 Glasgow tries followed so fast by that Edinburgh try, because the Edinburgh try was an absolute snorter, and to me it just got better every time. And we talked before on the pod, Sean, about if you're, say, your 10 or your fullback gets their hands on it twice in the same phase, you're in business. Okay, when your 7 does it, yes, you're in business. And Hamish Watson's firstly, his involvement straight away to pass that inside ball, but then secondly, the acceleration he shows was phenomenal.
And that's the point of difference, mate. That's what makes him an international rugby player. And no disrespect to sevens, but you don't normally see too many forwards get that second touch. You know, I talked about 9s and 10s and 15s maybe, but sevens need to be pretty special, either reading the game like a Justin Tipperick or pretty quick. And you saw the acceleration on the guy on that surface. boom. But not just that. It's an intricate play because he has to go inside, and then he's got the presence of mind to know the centres there. To me, I like that sort of thing. He's aware. He's not just catch it and go. He knows the play, and he knows that 12 is meant to be there in case he's dragged back, caught. That's his contingency on his outside, and he makes the pass. It's really good, and it's a coach's dream to see things like that come off.
Yeah, and the other thing I think with Hamish Watson is you can't just set your feet because you know he'll go over the top of you. He's so strong, isn't he? For the size of him, pound for pound, he's like RD Sevilla sort of power, isn't he? Pops through tackles that you just don't think he's going to. So you can't really set because he can do that. He can pass around you. He can step around you. He's the Scottish Tipuric in many ways.
Whoa!
Oh yeah, here we go. All right, maybe not at that level, but he's
sometimes
stepped
talk a little
the line.
bit too long. Sentences sometimes just elongate at the point.
I think, Andy, you agreed, didn't you, McGeady?
I was just going to come in there because there's things that go on just a bit too long. Was how Glasgow finished this game.
What a
segue that is.
Because if anyone didn't see this, it was truly remarkable.
What was our WhatsApp group like?
What's happening?
So in the WhatsApp group, what the F are Glasgow doing?
Yeah. What were they doing though? We still don't know.
Well, we found out after the game. Yeah. So this is the thing. So 23-22, Glasgow are winning, right? And we know we talked about this last week, Glasgow were bottom of their conference. This is not a good thing. They'd got the win. Edinburgh had missed the conversion. Glasgow had got possession. It's game over, lads. You just need to hang on to it for a couple of phases, kick the ball out. And I can forgive a couple of seconds because when you're on the field and you have a quick look at a clock, you want to be sure, okay? You don't want to be kicking it out and actually the ref's clock is slightly different, or, you might have a little nod to the ref or whatever. But this kept going. It kept going. And everyone watching this is going, what are you doing at all? So, Paul, what happened was, straight after the game, Ross Thomson was given the interview, and he said that what actually happened was they thought that the 1872 Cup was being played over 2 games, and they had to win by 4 to win it.
Oh my God!
So that's why they took So they took the penalty at the end of the game to the posts, leaving the chance of Sean Holley. What can happen?
God.
Hit the post.
Hit the post.
Concede.
The ball is
right.
live.
How many times have you seen it since I said that?
And everyone's like, what is he doing? So that's why they went for that penalty. That's why they kept playing. And it isn't there. There is a third game in this 1872 Cup season, and they didn't know that. So that's
poor, man. That's poor prep. That is.
But it's
not good.
You'd think that a coach would realise what was happening in that last 20 seconds and just be screaming on because there's no crowd in there. Can't you just scream on? Get it off. They could hear you from anywhere.
I think there were messages shouted on and sent on, Paul, but they just kept going. But I mean, I've talked to you before about contingencies in the week. Mm-hmm. So if you talk about that's a pretty normal scenario, right? We've just gone in the lead in the 78th minute. We're leading by 2 points. Mm-hmm. We need to talk to our leadership group about what do we do off that next restart, for example. They need a penalty to win. Mm-hmm. So we don't give penalties, but we clean exit. Do we kick it off? Do we keep it on and chase up? Those sort of things. You'd like to think you'd mention that we don't need to win by an aggregate score to win the 1872 Cup.
Yeah. There we go.
So that happened. Well done, Glasgow. I will say, before we move on to this game, I think it was an exciting game. I don't think that these teams are good at rugby right now. It's not even that it's loose. It's just that there's not enough good things happening continuously. Do you know what I mean by that?
I do. The thing is, though, admittedly, both teams aren't where they'd want to be, and they've both got a few missing. But I suppose when you've got 2 teams of the same ability, it can still be really competitive and entertaining. What wouldn't be entertaining is one of those 2 playing Leinster and then having 35 stuck on them. But whereas you've got 2 sort of middle to bottom, it doesn't mean it can't be entertaining, which it was.
I think we at least what we're seeing is there's some good individual performances going along. Mentioned Hugh Jones there, seems to be getting game time at 15 and finding a bit of space. Hamish Watson just does his thing. He'd probably do that in any side of any form, wouldn't he? I think some of the forwards like Schoeman came on, made a difference. I thought he's a good player. He is. We got second rows ticking along nicely. Bill Matter has come back and played far. So unfortunately, they're not gelling. Whether that's symptomatic of COVID, injury, in and out, lack of regular games, I don't know. I can't put my finger on that. There's probably nothing to justify that, but there's something. And there's a question that's been brought up by Steve Lewis, I think. Does it bode well for the Scottish team in the Six Nations? I don't think it has any relevance, really. I think because of the individuals, plus you bring a Finn Russell factor in, then all your better individuals coming together in a long-term tournament, I think Scotland will do all right. I do.
Yeah. And you drop Hogg back into there and Johnny Gray, and it's a different game, in it,
Nice to see Richie Gray taking along pretty well as well. I mean, there's a guy who's a 6'10" superpower, phenomenal athlete when he's gone. It's just, I think we forgot about him for a long time, so it's good to see him back. One thing before we go, magic super producer Adam Redmond has found me the clip of the George Turner yellow card in the first half.
Oh yeah.
I have my view of this. It is a funny one. So he's standing there. Describe very quickly for anyone listening back in the pod. He's standing there while there's a box kick. Grant Gilchrist comes to effect a charge down. He launches himself over the solid matter human that is George Turner. George Turner moves himself forward, and the referee adjudges that, along with the TMO and the officials, to be a yellow card because of a shoulder charge. What are the views of the pod on this one? Sean, go to you first.
I'm a bit 60-50, as I used to say.
60-50.
That was one of my coaching things in Bristol.
I like that.
It's 60-50. In other words, it's not clear cut.
No.
At the end of the day, old George doesn't move, does he?
But he leans in.
It is there's a slightly aggressive act there.
Yeah.
Had he just stood his ground and put his arms up, it wouldn't have warranted any action. But the fact he dips and lifts him,
I think that's a yellow.
What is Gilchrist expecting? Is he expecting to run over him, run through him? No. There's a big mass there.
That's what I can't get past. I cannot get past the fact that Grant Gilchrist, in order to make that charge down, has to somehow metaphysically turn George Turner into a gas or other non-solid piece of matter. It just doesn't work.
No.
So that's the bit I can't see. But look,
I hope the logical outcome from it is that neither player does that again.
Yeah.
So, isn't it? That's what you want. Do you want Gilchrist thinking, right, I won't be stupid and do that again, and George Turner think, right, I won't do that again, and then everyone's won.
And I think just have a word with the pair of them.
No, I know.
I think you can give a penalty and a word, and maybe not even a penalty. Honestly, like it's just. Anyway, we're not going to spend any more time with that. Adam, thank you for bringing up the clip. That was good because there's a bit of chat about that during the game, especially from Glasgow fans. We'll move on. There's been a bit of transfer news. Ian Keatley, released by Benetton, along with Kieran Crowley. Ian Keatley joins Glasgow. That is a very solid move for a team that are a bit thin and fly half. 1,500 odd points in 13 years in the Championship. 200 odd appearances across a few different clubs. That Paul Williams, that's a good move.
Yeah, and do you know what? And it's reinforced the change of mind that I've had this season with regards to like Stephen Myler and Callum Mahoney and those sort of guys. I used to be of the age, and Jamie Roberts falls into that bracket. I used to think if you were 33, 34, what is the point in signing those players? And I've totally changed my mind this season, and Keatley falls into that again. If you can get a player on a one season and they add just enough for 4 matches, get them in. So I think it's a really shrewd move, and it's just added up more weight of evidence to there's a lot of life left in senior players.
Yep, it's good, and he isn't that senior. It's great.
Well, he's not that senior, but you know what I'm saying. He's not like he's 25, is he? But you know what I mean.
No, it's a long time since a lot of us were. In fairness,
God, I know.
Home advantage. Right, we bring this up because we talked about it. We've talked about it previously. The lack of home advantage when there's no crowds for various reasons. There's a good home advantage from the weekend with that Hooter if you're not expecting it, and if you just got in late, go back and watch the start of the show when you get a chance because it's bloody hilarious. Sean, what are some odd home advantages that you've seen over the years, either on your team or going to somewhere?
Oh, well, on my team, when we started the Ospreys, we would play one home game at Swansea and one home game at the Knoll in Neath.
Yeah.
Now, if you've ever been to the Knoll in Neath, it's a great traditional old ground, but you cannot swing a cat in the away changing room. You can barely swing a dog in the home changing room, right? So that was clearly a home advantage, particularly when our kit man would throw a cold bucket of muddy water along the floor just before the opposition would come in.
Nice.
So they're old tactics, aren't they? That sort of thing. Going away, I go to some of the French clubs. I'll never forget going to Cast and thinking to myself, "Oh my God, we're not going to get out of here alive." Survived it when Jonathan Thomas punched Reggiaro, the prop, and I thought, "Oh my God." Anyway. Fast forward to when we went to Perpignan in the Heineken Cup, and Paul James had been allegedly gouged by Marius Tinku, the Romanian front rower. Got him carded, and we beat them. So when we went there, right, there are cages in Perpignan, right? It's Catalan, obviously. They were waiting for us. They had effigies they were burning of Paul James.
Oh my God.
And signs. Honestly, they were cages as we come off the bat. Honestly, I was thinking, my God,
How do we get out of this?
It was frightening. It was frightening. And then on the flip side, you go to Clermont, and they have this announcer. If you ever get a chance, boys, go to a big game in Clermont. They have this announcer, and they have these rattle things, right? And as I might have said this before, but as an away coach, I've never enjoyed myself so much before a game. I go into your position 10 minutes before kickoff, and you think to yourself, "Wow, amazing!" They just drums it up, and it is an advantage because they burst onto the field. Same in Toulon, they all buy newspaper, not to read it, but when they run out, they all throw them up in the air, and it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing advantage for a start of a game, and you have to turn that around and try and quieten the crowd. So yeah, those sort of things I think do have an impact. When there's no crowd, when they don't have that, it's got to be an advantage to the away team.
Right, Paul Williams, because there is an emphasis on are there any weird home advantages that jump into your mind?
In what regard?
Anything.
I've never played at elite level. That's
Tennis
the trouble,
stringing.
all coached. Tennis stringing now you've got me. But they are the things that, and unless you've played away at elite level, you wouldn't. It's very difficult to.
There's a couple that
to know what they are.
There's a couple that jump into mind from different sports though, because and it's probably more of a thing from previous generations and previous eras where games and stadiums were allowed to have very different dimensions before things got very standardized.
Yeah,
like
the NFL did that, didn't they?
Yeah, and stadiums were open as well. So like the old Lansdowne Road was a big open ground, and there was a wind tunnel down one of the stands. You'll hear old fly halves talk about that, and they knew that side of the ground. So they might take a kick from in let's say a penalty, go for touch, and it seems like it's the wrong side of the ground, but they know the ground, and they know it'll travel that side under that tunnel. And then even crossing sports, football, the old first division, there used to be all different sizes of pitches.
Yeah.
Like the old Highbury was tiny.
Where's that cricket ground that's got a tree in the outfield?
So is it Taunton, Somerset?
Is it
Somewhere
Taunton?
that?
It's a professional cricket ground, isn't there, with a tree in the corner?
Yeah.
That's an
No,
advantage.
is it Canterbury?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Can we have a live fact check in the comments section, please? But that's what I thought about. Like the old those old groundsmen who used to change the width of the pitch depending if there was a passing team coming or if there was a slow team, whatever like that. Like that's it's like that's why sports like cricket and baseball, where you can actually tailor the field and it makes a real difference to your players.
Listen to this. When we were at our height and we played really expansive rugby at the Ospreys, for example, and the Scarlets, when you go to Edinburgh to play Murrayfield, when they started playing there, and let's say you'd have Shane Williams, Tommy Bowe, real gas and width. I'd always go the day before with the kickers to Murrayfield. You'd be granted an hour and you'd go, and I'd go with them. One for something to do, one to kick back and to be around the boys, get to talk to them. And Edinburgh, the groundsman there, he'd always make me a cup of coffee and I'd go have a chat with him. And I'd always check I'd always pace the width, right, of the field.
Really?
And I'd also pace the dead ball area because that
like
would
the KGB.
Well, kicking into the dead ball area, is something you can talk about going to Murrayfield because they are deep dead ball areas.
Yeah.
Always when we played at Murrayfield, right, I noticed that the original touch lines had been greened out. And there'd be a fresh touch line. He'd bring a touch lines in. He'd never admit it. We'd bring him in so that it was a narrower field, so could we play quite a wide game? And then there's another one that sprung to mind that when you asked Andy, there's an old guy at Neath. Jonathan Davis told me this, and it's true because I watched him. Remember the days when you had your own touch judge?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But Jonathan Davis used to take, I think it's Billy something. I'm sure somebody on here will tell me. So he'd be dressed in like a Neath blazer, black shorts and black socks and togs, and have his Neath flag, right? He'd be under the stick. Jonathan be kicking the ball from say 40 meters. As Jonathan struck it, he'd be flag up in the air, running up the middle of the field, going back to his touchline. I hadn't even seen it go over. He'd be gone with the flag. He'd be gone.
Man alive.
In the air.
Yeah, it's over.
Canterbury. How old Davis? Canterbury. I thought
that's it.
Me, Williams.
Yeah.
We need live fact check from the comment section, and I love the way that in Wales, blatant cheating is just home advantage. That's clear.
Yeah,
right.
Just
table.
That's straight up cheating, isn't it? Like you say, I like that.
Robert, Conference A, Ulster 46, but played 11. Remember that. Leinster only played 9, but 41 points. Ospreys 22, Glasgow 15. Glasgow leapt into fourth by virtue of that win against Edinburgh, and then Dragons 14 and Zebre pleasantly competitive with 13 points. So we'll get to the fixtures this weekend in a second. Conference B, Munster. Wild out of it. Played 9, 37 points. Connacht played 9, 26, and it's nice and tight here because Scarlets played 10, 24. Cardiff Blues played 11, 22, and then Edinburgh a little way back in 15, and Benetton a surprising 4 points so far in a very disappointing season. Now, we have more games this weekend than we thought we'd have because when we sat down last Monday, we didn't know. We had a little hunch that Munster Leinster they would definitely make sure that between Glasgow, Edinburgh, and Munster Leinster we could get 2 games. 1 per weekend would make sense. And now we have 4, which is great. Yeah. So we have Scarlets Cardiff Blues Friday night. We then have, here we go. This is going very fast. We have got Scarlets Cardiff on Friday night. We've got Connacht Ospreys. We've got Zebre Edinburgh. We've got Munster Leinster. This is good. There's a lot going on here.
You've got to say, what Adam's doing is he's flicking between the rounds because obviously there's been postponed games in different rounds. All right, and now in their wisdom, the Scarlets and the Blues have agreed with Guinness PRO14 to play one of the games in the future, round 14. Now it's brilliant by the Guinness PRO14 that they managed to negotiate with all the teams to get these fixtures in. And it makes total, absolute common sense. You've got to praise the Guinness PRO14, and you've got to praise the clubs and regions for agreeing to it quite quickly. So I think it's brilliant. Even though it can be quite confusing which round it is, it'll all come out in the wash in the end.
Yeah,
I need to read a quote from an official Pro14 spokesperson. It is genuinely pretty impressive that these games have been done.
It is. It is. Do you know what, though? It really is, though, isn't it? You think how difficult it is just to organise anything in life. Just to go out for a meal with 8 people is a living hell. Reorganising 4 matches in about 4 days during COVID. It's ridiculous. It really is.
That, right, because from experience, it's one thing for Guinness PRO14 to deal with chief execs or the administrator, rugby directors, but the coaches and the players will want their say. They'll want their day, they'll want their kickoff time, their extra day rest or prep time and so on. So they're having to deal with all that as well. So that's why I say credit, particularly the Guinness PRO14, but to those people in senior positions at the clubs to agree to it and get it done and hastily arranged. I don't care what people say about, it's chopping and change different round. We're getting things done. It's great. We're getting rugby on. We're getting rugby on the TV, so credit the broadcasters as well. When there's no fans and we're all stuck in, brilliant all round for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's good. We're all fairly much on the same page with this one. So we have Scarlets Blues, Welsh Derby.
Good
there's
game.
a bit on this as well because we just saw the tables there. The Blues win could potentially move them up into 3rd, which isn't something we thought we'd see not so long ago, when they'd played a lot of games because they hadn't had any postponements, like not one-offs like other teams had, and didn't have so many points, but they have now. Scarlets are playing well though, Paul, so that could be good.
Well, it is, yeah. And, I think particularly with, Di Young coming in and the coaching change and the obvious impact that always has, which never fails to amaze me how much players improve when a new coach comes in. And it's always immediate as well. Yeah, Jared Evans is absolutely flying at the moment. Blues have got their centres back, first choice centres in Lilo and Halaholo. Scarlets are playing well. That should be a really good game, actually. I'm looking forward to that.
The added spice, mate, is that the Die Young factor, but it wasn't so long ago that the Blues put one over the Scarlets only a couple of weeks ago. In the match before Die Young came in on the Mondays. I think it must be 10 days or whatever ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I only commented on the game, but it's nice and fresh and ripe, so both teams will have a little bit on each other. I think the Scarlets will be disappointed. Of course, it was the Liam Williams red card day. So they had to play 45 minutes with 14 men. They have a point to prove. But you say they're playing well, and they are playing well in fits and starts, but they're not scoring. And so it tells you something. Lee Halfpenny is the top point scorer. He's hardly played.
Yeah.
He's got 36 points.
Yeah.
So that tells you a story. They're not scoring tries, and they're not scoring points. When they do score tries, it's from first phase ploys, which is really good. Callum Mahoney is big in that. But they're not really stringing lots of attack together. They need to get up to speed quickly. And I tell you another thing, looking at the fixtures coming up, they need the Ospreys to do them a favour by beating Connacht.
Yeah.
Because that, if they beat the Blues, and Ospreys do them a favour by beating Connacht, they're back in that mix then. And they keep a little bit of a gap away from the Blues.
Yeah, we need to talk about the Liam Williams thing because I was interested that he got off 1 week off his ban for remorse when he'd shown some lip going off the field. Those two things don't quite tally up for me. It'll be interesting to see the full decision.
The remorse was he did go up to Shane Lewis-Hughes on the field and apologise, and so I think there's that. And normally, if you go into a hearing and show remorse and apologise, and his record in the past has been,
not great.
I'm not one to comment on it because
we're not going into that one tonight.
No, I think we all know that side of the process is unusual, isn't it?
It can be, and sometimes it's also hard to explain because they go in percentages as opposed to weeks. So you can see weird numbers of weeks lopped off, but there is a process they go through it. But it was interesting. Right, so that is going to be good. That is on Friday at 8 p.m. Live on S4C, Premier Sport and Air Sport. Thank you for your service, please. Right, here we go. Zebre versus Edinburgh. There is only one big question about this game, okay? And it is, can Zebre actually live up to the Paul Williams hype?
I think they. So no, do you know? As soon as I say this, they'll probably go out of business in about 3 weeks. I think they can. I think they can win that. I really, really think they can beat Edinburgh. You can't.
No way. Cockers will pick. Cockers will pick his biggest pack, right? I don't think Nick Groom is going to see any ball, let alone listen to a hooter from the 22 Palmer Express. He can toot all his like. Nick Groom's not seeing any of that this week. No. I think it's going to be a real set piece dominate. As good as they've been, Zebre. I don't know. Well, I hope I'm wrong, but
I'm putting on my rose-tinted glasses. Viscati, man of the match. 2 line breaks, 6 jackals. Zebre by 5.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to the WhatsApp group on Saturday.
I genuinely think they can win that game. I really do.
All right then.
Oh, here he comes.
How about a Scarlets Munster Zebre treble? What would that get you?
Scarlets Munster.
Right, we'll leave Sean. We'll leave Sean look that up and phone his contacts. Right. Connacht Ospreys on Sunday afternoon. That's at the Sports Ground live on TG Car in Ireland on Premier Sport. There's a bit going on here because Connacht are in a very good position. Okay, and they're only a couple of weeks from having. They could have taken that game against Munster. They absolutely could have. They shouldn't have, but they could have. Now, they didn't. But that means they're in a very tight squeeze in Conference B, as we have seen. And that's how their conference always shapes up. So they're 26, Scarlets 24, Cardiff 22. So a combination of results this weekend would see them go down from second to third and just a little too tight for comfort in this different, shortened season. So there's a lot on the line here. And Ospreys in turn, if Ospreys, they lose, Glasgow might be finding a little bit of form here. Dragons have not played badly this year. So even though they're 7 ahead of Dragons behind Leinster, I wouldn't be sitting back at all if I was Ospreys. So there's a bit on the line with this one, Paul.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good players. We were talking individually about Edinburgh and Glasgow playing well. There's loads in this game. You've got Carty and Myler, who are 2 of the unsung heroes at 10 in the league. I'd say they're both playing really well, but they're not exactly the marquee names in the league. They're playing really well. You've got 2 centre combinations in both sides. Young ones at the Ospreys, and then 2 of the form centres, I think, in the league at Connacht. You've got Prothero playing well. You've got George North playing well. Connacht like to play some nice, attractive rugby. That I know Leinster Munster's obviously the darling of the weekend, but that could be a fantastic game, Connacht Ospreys.
Where do Wales sit and the Ospreys on Tipuric, North, et al. Playing? That would be a big question for me,
Yeah, that's what's difficult, knowing what sides are being picked, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, I think you go over there without George and Tipuric. It is in Connacht, isn't it?
Yeah, in the Sports Ground to go, yeah.
Yeah. Talk about home advantage. They got a bloody win machine there, so that's home advantage. But you go there without North, without Tipuric, without Alan Wynne, potentially Nicky Smith, one of the hookers perhaps who could be in the Wales squad is announced on Wednesday. It's a hell of an ask at the best of times.
Rhys Webb,
another one, good one. Will Wayne Pivac have a word? What is the agreement on game time? I don't know. George has had some good game time. Tips didn't play in the last game, so he may be available. But you'd have to think Tipuric is in that first Welsh game. You know, you'll have to. That's not long away now, is it? From next Sunday.
Well, you do. You are talking about the man that they call the Welsh Hamish Watson. That's
exactly. Well, I'm gonna. Do you know what? I'm gonna have that put on a T-shirt and have it sent down Harley's gaff, and we'll have to force him to wear it. Hamish Watson.
I've got a whiteboard here on my wall, right? Which is across the top, right? The heading is ridiculous Paul Williams quote.
Stupid things he said this week.
I need to play another one. It's full.
Did you see my tweet this week about potentially having lift-in pods in midfield or on the wing for cross kicks? Got quite a lot of traction from Twitter's nutters.
I missed that tweet. I would have absolutely given it traction.
Right.
I can't believe I resisted replying.
So, lifting pod, I'm always looking at the field, trying to think what hasn't been done that could be done. And why haven't we seen a lifting pod for a cross kick on the 22? So you set it up 2 or 3 phases, leave a lock out on the wing with your wing, go back to the other side, cross kick in, lock lifts the wing in the corner. It's legal, and you can't tackle either of them.
But, there's loads of good ideas. I referred to the start of the show my idea of putting a scrum half in the lineup. Sounds really innovative, but it's full of bollocks.
And then the other one was then on to receiving box kicks.
Yeah, but hang on now. Lots of things are supposed to happen before you get to your utopian part, Now, how are we meant to win the ball and clear rucks before we cross kick? Do we want Alan Wynne wasted out on the wide channel, lifting George North in the air when he's 16 stone and 6'2" anyway?
Tell you what, when Eddie Jones wins the next World Cup with this move in the corner with Launchbury loitering outside, lifting Johnny May.
Do you know what I'm doing? I'm going to go into dad mode now and say, Paul, stop annoying your brother. Stop annoying your brother.
Stop annoying your big brother.
Yeah. I was reminded of one thing there. You talked about the wind machine in Galway. They did actually do that once in Minnesota in baseball, where there was an employee who had to own up to turning on the air conditioning when his team were at bat in the late innings. Really? Switch on the aircon from behind home plate. Suddenly, your 350-foot fly ball becomes a home run. Brilliant. Imagine that in Galway. Roll up with your wind machine. That conversion is not going over, my friend. Right. Right, here we are. We seem to have forgotten one game. Here it is.
Here we go.
Oh, the big one.
Here it is. Munster and Leinster. This is the one that was postponed from over Christmas because of COVID-related stuff. Okay. We now have it. And no time like the present. This is perfectly timed for a lot of reasons. One, we want to watch rugby. 2, Six Nations is upon us, and we do not have the European games that, in fairness, a lot of coaches would like to see their players turn up in. We have a very, very good substitution, something that could be an old-fashioned trial for the Ireland team, and it's good.
And you know what? This is one of those games where, because we're used to seeing the depth of these two squads now, it doesn't really matter if a lot of international boys don't play, because we've got a lot of boys coming up the rails. There's a couple there, like a Gavin Coombs, way up on the stats chart. Ben Healy, another one, and then likewise on
all
the
of them
side, all of them,
all of them,
and those who are internationals are out of favour, like Luke McGrath. So it's brilliant. And this is one thing, as an aside, that Paul and I do agree on strongly, that this would be a corker of a game to do a watch along on Saturday night.
Absolutely. This would be.
Producer Adam Redman is going to scold me in the private chat now.
He cut you out.
I think a lot of people would tune in. I do, personally.
It'll be a great game. It's like you say, it depends who's getting picked. But I've read today that James Lowe might be fit, which is good. Whether or not he gets, because to me, me, I'm all about wings and centres, and if he's back, he is a game changer. Full stop.
Do you want to watch along for Munster Leinster? Asks the headline on the screen. So we haven't done one for a long time. We haven't done one. We haven't done one since the final last season, have we?
No, and let's face it. Not that it was a disappointing final, but we all sort of knew how it would pan out. I suggest that there's a little bit of doubt in this one. Is Munster home? They're ticking along, right? Leinster have had a hiccup. Yes, they came back strong last game. But you put the two sides on paper that you think are going to be out there. Ooh, I think it's tasty. It's tasty. I think there's a potential one-upmanship to be gained here because this is a potential final. Now we know the format.
Ulster fans will really, really, really want Munster to do a job here.
Yes.
Because if Leinster don't win this, suddenly that win over Ulster at the RDS goes for naught.
They're in a mess then.
It's gone watch-along-tastic on our comments thread. This is such a popular thing. Will you tune in, guys, if we do it? Because I'm prepared to give up my Saturday night. I'm really busy, actually, Saturday night, but I'm prepared to do it.
I was due to do a pub crawl on Saturday, so I'd give that up too.
God.
You'll only do it if Adam Redmond agrees and everybody on the comments says, "Yeah, come on, let's do it."
Yeah,
we'll see what we can do. We've been wondering about doing one for a while, and this one might just feel right, folks. Right. So if people are up for it, I think we might make the time. No guarantees. No guarantees.
Bennett, we need one. I love that.
Need one. No. Talk about this is almost online bullying on Adam Redmond, but bullying does work.
No, bullying doesn't work on Adam Redmond. He doesn't stand for that.
May I remind the people of the house who pays the bills in this place? So our amazing producer, Adam Redmond.
Flicks to private chat.
Private chat. You're all sacked. Oh, great.
Please do watch along, says Geraldine Keane. We will see what we can do. Harold Davis, watch along. Tom, Tick, Christian Hyde, watch along with a few bottles of red. A few bottles. Jesus.
No.
Ian Gilbert, I would tune in. I'm not sure there'd be another show if we had a few bottles already. Is Adam sending us all Guinness? He will direct you to your nearest appropriate off license, I'm sure. Much like ourselves. No freebies, but anyway, let's have a look. We're getting towards the end of the show. I'm really happy that we have all this rugby this weekend because it was genuinely weird having just one game to kind of look at. Like we don't get the top 14 feeds and stuff at Guinness available at all.
Look at that.
Look at
He's on the ball, isn't he, Adam?
Straight in. The sponsor's friend, Adam Redmond. Right, comments that we've had. We've had a couple of good ones. Good to see Chiefs girl back in the comments. She got used to our new time slot. Sorry, we did move it a few weeks, but we're settling into Monday night now. It feels right. Jared, where did Sean get his seat?
Oh, Jared, unique sports chairs. That's what you. That's a shameless plug for him, but yeah, it's called Unique Sports Chairs. I think you'll find him best on Instagram. There you go, Unique Sports Chairs, and you've got to give up. I think it's a good, it's a good 13, 14 jerseys, but he'll do you a cushion and obviously a cushion seat, and then his front back side. It's excellent. It's really good, and
they are brilliant, aren't they? Fair play. Look at that.
Really good. Yeah, Unique Sports Chairs. Shameless plug.
Harley Worthy, can we take a moment to say just how much Ali Price's game has come on the last few years? Definitely should be in more Lions tour conversations. There's two big sentences there, right? First one I'm on board with. Second one I'd have to be convinced. Paul Williams.
But the thing is though, there aren't stacks of quality scrum halves, though, are there? So England haven't got that many. All of Ireland's are probably, other than Murray, too young for Lions. So it's not like normal years where they've been like this 5 deep on scrum halves. I'm not saying he's going to go on the Lions tour, but it's not, a ludicrous. It's not like saying that somebody's going to go on tour in the open side position when there's about 15 players. Here he comes.
No, stop being flowery now, right? Let's cut to the chase.
He's not good enough for the Lions.
Is he better than Luke McGrath?
No, but he wouldn't go on the Lions either.
Thank you. That's my point.
That was the shittest court trial ever. The worst courtroom scene ever.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Right? He's not,
No, I know.
Is he as good as Thomas Williams?
I don't think he is, but I wouldn't have said as much in it.
No, he's not. Is he better than John Cooney?
He doesn't play for Ireland.
Well, I'm going to rest my case now.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it's not that loose. It's scrum half isn't a depth position for the Lions, but I'm not saying it.
So we will come back to this, and the reason why we're not going to dwell too much on Lions is that look, the Lions mightn't happen. If we have a plan for the Lions that is solid again, we will spend time on Lions. Definitely, we can milk shows out of that, my friends. Andrew O'Donnell, this is definitely a Turner question. Never should be a yellow. Why is a player allowed to dive over a player in the first place? That is generally where my sympathy is. Chiefs girl, I would have given a penalty. Is that guy stupid or what for running straight into the other guy? And the other guy should just have put up his hand instead of dropping the shoulder. I have some sympathy to that. Yeah, we did spend a bit of time on that. Christian Hyde. I like your comments, Christian Hyde. Nice job. Chiefs girl, odd home advantage. Yes, the Crusaders versus Hurricanes foggy final. They couldn't even see the ball.
That's a weird game, yeah.
I think that goes down in weird.
Yeah,
advantage.
that's weird.
Yeah, very well. Johan Davis. Don't know if you can talk about possible transfers. Yes, we can. Talk about Priestland coming to Blues. Jared heading the other way. Or the six ways. I love Priestland, but why bring in 34-year-old and 20? Well, we did touch on this I think it was 2 weeks ago. Jared Evans, you wouldn't want to let go.
No. The other thing is, the Bath have signed Tian Schumann today.
Yeah. So,
they aren't as bare in the 10 cupboard as they looked like they were 7 days ago.
Worcester are throwing money around.
Yeah.
And that's a worry. I think this has to be a signal from the Welsh management and this Six Nations. And it's no surprise to me that this talk is happening just before Six Nations squad's announced.
No, that's right.
This is what agents do, right? And they get hold of the media. However, if there is any element, there's no smoke without fire, is there? But Jared leaving now, and there's still this 60 cap rule. We've seen Thomas Francis come the other way because he wants to play for Wales. Jared would be effectively giving that up under the current rules, which means that he's having an indication that he's not in favour with the current Welsh management, which would be really sad. He's closing the door, or both are closing the door. He can't leave. He's too good. We need him.
And the other thing is, he's too young.
Yeah.
He could have at least another chance.
Actually,
I don't think you can leave under 28. You've got a Welsh career in front of you.
It's that he's in that period where he's neither too old. He's the wrong stage. If you want to send a player abroad, get them away early. If you have players in their position, like a load of them, get them away, get them top grade experience somewhere where you think they need it. So previously in Ireland, we saw great results back with Leo Cullen, with Shane Jennings, some props move. That's what you do if you're doing it well. But a guy in his mid-20s, it just seems the wrong profile to me.
The other thing, it's not like a sort of Nick Evans, Dan Carter situation where you're never going to get through. We're talking about Callum Sheedy and Johan Lloyd and players like that. So it's not cut and dry that he's not going to play. It's still very much a coin flip, I'd say, between Jared Evans and Callum Sheedy.
It comes down to Welsh management. They have to signal their intent about him. Otherwise, he's saying, or his agent is saying, by the looks of it, well, if you don't pick him, he's off.
400 grand.
For a load of money from Gloucester, which is just spreading rumors. They're looking for some. They're looking for podcast teams, lads. Get
our agent to do it.
Lorcan, we need to call Wales online. Despite Lorcan Murphy, steady on with the praise for Pro14, lads. They're about to change the format of the competition again. Already done, my friend. Already done. So, we're gonna have this shortened season, straight into a final, and then the Rainbow Cup. Which
oh no, I don't need any more nicknames. Who's Eddie Mush? I haven't seen a Bronx Tale.
Not me.
Oh God.
That's what we need, a Bronx Tale watch along with Paul as the starring role.
Let's see what he looks like.
Okay.
He's Googling it now. He's that
paranoid. What else do we got?
Oh God, it's the glasses, I think.
Okay. Are we good? Jared won't leave, says Harley Worthy. Well, I think a lot of people are hoping that. I think we're oh, here we go. Stuart Minnis. Evening, gentlemen. I'm big rugby league fan. What about doing a debate show, league versus union show? It would be a laugh.
It would start out a laugh, and then it would end up in being really nasty and aggressive and hurtful. But yeah, I do it. I
think I annoyed a friend of both Sean and I the other day, who was a big rugby league legend and union legend, by saying something on Twitter about league. I think he's forgiven me now.
It is. Do you know what I would do? I would do a show where it's not league versus union. I do one talking about some of the trends that league experiments that league's done, and then years later at union we find ourselves tackling the same problems.
Yeah,
there's a thread there that I think we could do something interesting with.
Yeah, and age-old discussions are always good. Like which union players would make good league players at the moment, and vice versa. Who were the best union converts? Were there any league converts that made it? Jason Robinson. It would be good to get a take on, because I watch rugby league. A lot of union guys watch rugby league. Mm-hmm. Do the league guys watch the union, and what sort of opinions do they have? It'd be quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, especially for the summer.
Right. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Right. Chief Skirl, I agree. Don't know why there are scrums in league. Seems pointless. Absolutely. I think we are almost going to. Oh no, we're more rumors. Here we go. Heard Sam Davies is on the way to Sixth Wave. Evans to Rodney Parade. Just like lash them all in. We're going to end that show, I think, today. That has been good. It feels about right. We have rugby to look forward to. We had a surprisingly good game, tight game last weekend, which kept us all entertained right till the end. And Glasgow, a little bit longer than we should have done, but you got away with it. Thank you, all of you, for joining us live on the PRO14 social channel tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Or backwards afterwards, if you want to listen to the pod. Thank you, Paul Williams. Thank you, Sean Holley. Thank you, Adam Redmond, for your tireless work in the background. And sincerely, folks, this thing would not happen without Adam working technical miracles through COVID. So silver lining, Adam Redmond is now a real producer who pulls this thing absolutely together every damn week. And we all appreciate that. That was Under the Sticks. My name's Andy McGeady. We will talk to you next week.
They call me cheetah, cheetah, cheetah. Ooh, cheetah, cheetah, cheetah. I love my